Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Going over today's MLB main slate for today on DraftKings. Before we continue though, if you could leave a like, subscribe to the channel, I really appreciate that. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPinell16. And I'm going to have to plug the Patreon again, guys. So if you want access to the sheet and the pitching model, the hitting model, and projections and all that. So like here's an example of like the MLB model. So here would be like the outfield. So pretty much every single thing you need here. I talk about this every video. So don't want to just be redundant, but if you're new to the channel, this is what you're going to get. You can get that for each position, and then it's also got for pitchers as well, and we have projections. So that's what that's going to look like. And if we go to the Patreon page, I'll put this in the link. I'll put the link in the description below for this. So we have a couple packages here. We have the UFC, PGA, NASCAR, which NASCAR is tomorrow. So if you're interested in NASCAR, I recommend checking that out. Then we have MLB model and the All Sports Access. And when I do NFL, I'm going to keep that price the same. And I want to give a quick shout out to the UFC package, which is primarily run by Andrew, the guy that comes on and does the golf and UFC videos. He had one of the guys in the Slack chat post his. I don't usually like talking about this kind of stuff because I just don't like boasting about it, but someone in the UFC Slack chat, they went over 6K tonight doing some parlays and bets and whatnot. So UFC had a very good night. I believe our guy only lost one fight. So just props to him. And I hope you guys played UFC. I hope you guys had an amazing night. But just wanted to share about the guy who had a really good night tonight. So shout out to you. All right. So anyway, let's get into the sheet. And like I said, I'll put the link for the Patreon in the description below. And let's get into it as soon as I get back to the cheat sheet. All right, so SP1 for me, it's Max Scherzer, and it's not even close. A big price tag, but I've been playing righties versus Detroit daily. I know both didn't really work out at all. He was looking pretty decent. Then at the very end, left two guys on base, and the reliever let the other two guys come in, so he didn't end up having a very good day. But this is Max Scherzer we're talking about. It's going to be going against his old team. And he's the number one pitcher on the slate for me. It's not even close at all in terms of projection as well. So definitely want to get Max Scherzer in my lineups. And I do think it's possible today because I do have an interesting punt option. But we'll get to him after Blake Snell. So Blake Snell, 8,000. Recent form is absolutely terrible, but he still has an xFIP, 2 runs lower than his ERA. So he is getting a little bit unlucky. But he hasn't looked very good in his last two starts, I will say that. But he still owns a 31% K rate, and it's going to be going against a Rangers team who strikes out a ton versus lefties. So I do think the upside is there, and we're getting a reduced price tag, and we are in the Trop, so it's a good pitcher's park. So, and that new guy, Brendan McKay, had a very good game versus them today, and Snell's got the ability. So as long as he's back in his game, I like Blake Snell a lot. Then Aaron Sanchez at 4,400. This is the way we can get Max Scherzer and spend up a bat. So I do think this is going to be interesting. But Aaron Sanchez at 4,400. It's ugly, but if you look at his past 4 games, he's been awful, but 4 out of those 5 games have been against the Yankees, at the Yankees, against the Rockies and Coors. The Angels team does not strike out a lot, and they have a pretty decent team with Ohtani, La Stella, Upton, Trout, so don't sleep on the Angels, and then the Astros. So, I mean, that's a tough task for just about any pitcher. And really, we don't need much here versus a mediocre Royals team, and it's a much better matchup than the past 4 out of the 5 teams. And the other team was the D-backs, which is not terrible. But Royals are the worst of that bunch, and I do think we can get like 10 points, which is all we need, because we can get Max Scherzer with his 40-point upside, and then we can get Sanchez skating by with 10 points. We're going to be able to stack up our bats, too, so I think that's a ton of high upside. It's kind of like the last time I think we had Max Scherzer and Nestor Cortez, and that really worked out. So I can see that happening again. So I think that's the way to get Max Scherzer and big bats. And then a catcher, James McCann at 4,600. He's always been good versus lefties, and he's going to be facing a new call-up in Thorpe, who has struggled in AAA ball so far. I think his ERA is above 5, but he has been good in his recent starts. But still, it's going to be a tough task, I think, for him today. Might have some success, but I do like McCann. And then Chan Cisco at 3,900. He's murdering Indians pitching with a 20 and 34 points the past 2 games. And Bieber struggles with lefties. So if he can stay hot, I'd like his chances versus Bieber. I mean, Bieber's a very good pitcher. I'm an Indians fan. I watch him a lot. But Cisco's hot. And lefties do have an advantage here. And then if you don't want to get up to them, just the usual punt options like Danny Jansen and whoever the heck's down there. And then first base, Anthony Rizzo, 5,100. Love the lefties here versus Desclafani. He's pretty tough on righties, but some extreme splits versus lefties. So like the lefties a lot, and we're in Great American Ballpark, which is great for hitting. Then Matt Adams at 4,800. Another day, another Nat stack. They still haven't popped off yet. I mean, they scored a few runs, like five last night, but it still wasn't like an exciting 5 runs. It's just an Anthony Rendon solo home run. So I say we go back to it. Really like the Nats again, especially the lefties versus Zimmerman, although I don't mind the righties either. And then Jesus Aguilar at 3,300, cheap and facing a bad lefty, and Brolt, and I love all the righties here. And then second base, Jose Altuve, 3,900. He just has too much potential, below 4K versus a lefty, so I like going back to him. And then I'm probably gonna say this name wrong, but Keston Hira, something like that. We'll just call him Keston. 4,100. Been pretty solid in a limited sample size, but he's another righty I like versus Brolt. And then Nicky Lopez at 3,400. Nothing special, but he has been hitting high in the order, and he doesn't need much for value. And I know I have interest in Sanchez, but that doesn't mean I think he's going to mow the entire lineup down. So there are some spots here, like even Maldonado at catcher. And then at third base, we have Bregman, 4,900. Astros stack really didn't work out last night. It was a quiet, they get 5 runs. But I like going back to it, going against a lefty. And then Eugenio Suarez, 3,900. He's one of my favorite plays for the price on this slate. In GABP, Great American Ballpark, versus lefty, and he mashes lefties. And then Yuli Gurriel, 3,900. This is just a more affordable piece of the Astros. He's a righty. And then shortstop, we already talked about Bregman. Shortstop's looking like a position I want to spend up on. I think there's a guy that's 2K versus Sanchez, but I don't feel like using all these bats versus my pitcher that I'm interested in. So it's looking like a spend up spot for me, but if you go with Sanchez, you can spend up at a lot of places, and there's some good value options in the outfield and at other spots as well. And then Frankie Lindor, 5,500. Indians have been trashed the past couple nights, including their pitching, and if they can't get going versus Zanoa, we're going to have a problem. But the problem with the stack is for the Indians, they're pretty expensive. I think Mercado is 5,200, Santana's 53, Frankie's 55, and Kipnis is 47, which I'm not doing that. And I'd rather get to the Nats and some of the other stacks I like. So probably going to be the odd stack out for me, but they're in a good spot. And then Trey Turner, 5,300. He's just been dust the past 2 games. Has he even scored? I've played him the past 2 games, and he's just been awful. But he's been versus the lefties the past 2 games, but now he gets a date with a righty in Zimmerman, so it could be the cure for him. He actually has been better versus righties this season, so I don't mind going back with Trey. And we know his power and speed combo. Then high-priced outfield Juan Soto, 5,200. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate versus a lefty in Zimmerman, and he's a must-play if stacking the Nats. You just can't skip Soto. And then George Springer, 5,700. He was not worth the price of admission last night, but another good spot versus a lefty. And then Ryan Braun at 4,700. Always like him versus bad lefties, and here we are. Wish he was in the usual 4.2K range though, but DraftKings priced him up, so that's unfortunate. But he is in a good spot. Then in the mid-range outfield, Kyle Schwarber, 4,200. This is one of my favorite plays, core play for me, leading off versus Desclafani in Great American Ballpark. And his teammate Jason Hayward for the same reasons, but he's just not leading off. But he's been hot. I think he's had double digits the past 3 games, like 16, 20, something else. So I do like Hayward. And then Kane, 4,200. He's gotten the boot in the order recently, been put down, but facing a lefty, he should get bumped up a little bit. And I'm always interested versus lefties. And then in the value outfield, Adam Eaton, he's the only one I really want to play, 3,800. I think he's a core play for me. Yeah, he is. I just love the price here, and he should be hitting second, I imagine. And he doesn't have a ton of power, but I love the play at his price. He can get on base, get some runs, so I do like Adam Eaton a lot. And he can get the occasional home run too. And then for the core plays for me, I got Scherzer, Schwarber, and Eaton. And then in the top stacks, I got the Nats, the Cubs, Indians, Astros, and the Brewers. And I'll fill out the yellow stuff right there for the Patreon members as well. Alright guys, that's all I have for the video. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, I appreciate that. Check out the NASCAR video if you are interested in playing NASCAR tomorrow. The race starts at 3. And check out the Patreon. I'll put that in the link in the description below. Can never get that right. Alright, but I wish you guys the best of luck tomorrow.